back to the channel. I'm on to my next project. What I want to do is, I've got this bandsaw pretty much all set up. I just put the fence on it. Everything's adjusted. What I want to do is make a cross-cut sled for it. So when you're cutting little parts, it would be way safer to cut them on there than to cut them on the table saw. I did just change my table saw blade, so I'm excited about that. We're going to use it tonight to make that cross-cut sled for the bandsaw. All right, so I got a nice piece of plywood I'm going to use here to make the sled out of, and the cross-cut sled. And what I bought was some UHMW bars. They're about 36 inches long, and they're made out of polymer type plastic that should glide really easy in this miter slot back and forth. Now, you can use wood for something like this. I did cut a wood strip here, and that's another option also. It's just that every time I cut it, I don't know, it was a little bit warped and it holds up just a little bit in the miter slot, and I don't want any resistance when I'm trying to slide the sled back and forth on the table. So we're going to use these bars. I'm going to cut it right now to fit. Okay, so I took a little painter's tape and I put it on both sides of the plywood. I don't want any tear out. I want it to look nice and neat. I know it's just a tool, but I want it to look pretty as good as I can get it to look. So we're going to go ahead and make our cut. Get this put in on the sled. All right, so what I don't want to do is take the blade off right now. I've got it all set up for resawing, and I really don't want to take the bandsaw blade off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my slot in here right now, at least halfway up, so that I can place this without taking off the bandsaw blade. So we're gonna give it I'm gonna give it a shot, see how it works. Hopefully it'll work if I cut this nice and straight. So here we go. Okay, so what I did was I cut the slot in there so I could position it on the bandsaw table before we go ahead and put our polymer rail in the bottom. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to back this off. I may have to go a little bit further, I think, because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go a little bit further. Okay, so that should be a definite straight cut through there that we can use on a general basis. Every single time we cut, we're going to use that slot to cut on. It was lined up with the fence. I'm going to leave the fence exactly where it is. But what I want to do is, this sticks up just a little bit higher than my miter slot. And I want it to be nice and flat on the table. So instead of planing this down after I attach it, I thought I would take a little bit of the wood out on the table saw so it sits up a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark both ends of that, and then on the table saw, cut out a little bit of material so we have a little clearance so it's not tight on the bottom of the miter slot. That way our sled is sitting right on top of the table. Okay, so what I did was I just set my table saw fence that I would cut right along that line, and what I'll do is I'll just bump it over each little cut as we go. I just set the table saw blade up just a little bit so it just takes a smidge of material off. I can guide it right through there, hopefully nice and straight. I'm going to put my mask on here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the rail. So I'm just going to line it up here, right in that slot we just cut, make sure everything's perfect. I put the rail inside the miter slot, but underneath it I put a couple of washers so it would stick up above the table a little bit, because I want it to glue perfectly. I want it to be perfectly where I want it on the bottom of the sled. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of dots of CA glue. I'm going to put the sled back on, I'm going to glue it to the bottom, and then what we'll do is we'll take it off and I'll screw it in there nice and tight. So first the CA glue, just a couple of dots. I don't want to go overboard. I don't want it oozing out on my table. I just want a little bit on there that will hold it. Hopefully it'll seal up quickly on there. Trying not to touch the plastic for right now until I get it lined up, and put it right in there and get her situated right where we want it. I'm just gonna put a little weight on that and hopefully wait till it sticks. Can we get everything countersunk in there? Okay, so I got it in there. It's sitting nice and flat on the table. I put a little finishing wax in there, kind of lube that up a little bit, and she seems to be going really good. And what I can do is, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the fence on. I'm going to put a fence on here, but I don't want it too far back because I don't want the table flexing in and out like that, or the sled flexing in and out like that. So the next thing we do is we are going to make the fence. Okay, so I'm just gonna glue up 2 pieces of plywood, make a nice fence. We're gonna go ahead and run it through the table saw here and just even off both of the edges. Okay, now what I want to do is, I don't want it all the way back here. It's going to leave it a little bit flimsy. I don't want these pieces going like that. So I'm going to leave myself a little room behind the fence here in order to be able to have a nice space behind it. It'll make this a little bit more secure. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the curve right up to the fence and we should be good. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll take a little piece and test it out, see if it works. Nice little square block cut on the bandsaw. It's going to work great. All right, that's it for this project. Got the bandsaw sled all taken care of. Make sure you like and subscribe, and God bless.